What's up, everyone? We are back with all of our best NCAA basketball picks for Sunday, March 10th. We're getting in there. March Madness is about to kick off. We've got lots of conference tournament games. We're going to dive into this slate and find the best value. There's not a ton of games going on Sunday, but that's okay. We've got some bangers for you in this one. Don't forget to slam that thumbs up button to keep these daily videos coming out. We're committed to everyday NCAA basketball videos here till the end of March. Click the link in the description to go over to stumpthespread.com where you can see all of our absolute top confidence plays covering NCAA basketball as well as the NBA, NHL, UFC, and every other major sport. Get down there in those comments and let us know what you think of all of these picks. Every single one, I'd like to see what you guys think on it. Let me know what your bets are going to be on this slate. I'll give you my best advice using all the information that I have at my fingertips to let you know whether I think that's a good play or a bad play. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. It's absolutely free, and I know that about 80% of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed, so let's go ahead and click that button, join the group, and that's the best way to make sure you don't miss any of these videos. Now let's dive into our first game today. We're looking at Nebraska heading to Michigan. The Cornhuskers coming into this game, they're -6 in this one. Nebraska is 3-7 against the spread on the road, but they've been playing pretty well lately. They've won 5 of their last 6 coming down the stretch. They're about to be headed into conference tournament play. It's going to be really interesting to see what Nebraska can do in that one. This team has been one of the biggest surprises in the NCAA all season long. They look like they're going to finish things off in the top 4 or 5 spots in the Big Ten, which is a huge jump for this program in general. It's just been a great year for them. Their shooting has really helped them close the gap. They're a very good offensive team. Their defense can go a little bit up and down, and they're a much better defensive team at home versus when they're on the road, but that's not really that big of a deal when you're a squad that can shoot the lights out against anybody on a nightly basis. This team really rebounds the ball. They play with a high pace. They've got some solid scores, and the most important thing is they can all shoot the rock. This team can really fill it up from deep, and that is a great equalizer. On the absolute opposite side of the coin, we've got the Michigan Wolverines. They are not having a good season at all. Michigan is +6 in this game. They're 5-9 against the spread at home. They just saw their strength coach resign about a week ago. He was away from the team. There's been all kinds of weirdness around this team, around this program all season long. Things just haven't looked great. They've had injury issues. Some of those seem to have cleared up, but that has not changed their fate. They've lost 7 in a row. They got absolutely blown out at rival Ohio State. Now they have to finish out their regular season with this game against Nebraska. Things just are not looking up for this squad. Nothing good seems to be happening for them this season. Pretty surprised they're hanging on to their head coach and all that jazz, but supposedly they are. We'll see what actually happens in the offseason, though. This is going to be one of my better bets of the day, guys. We're taking Nebraska -6 on the road in this one. They haven't been fantastic on the road, but Michigan is a terrible 5-9 against the spread at home, and they're just a terrible team. We saw Nebraska dominate this matchup only a couple weeks ago. They won by 20 points on their home floor, and we could definitely see something similar happening in this one. We're taking Nebraska -6 in this one. Next up, we're headed a little bit off the beaten path, going deep into the weeds to find the value games for you guys. We're looking at Lehigh going on the road to take on Boston University. This is the Patriot League semifinal. They're playing it in Case Gym in Boston, Massachusetts, so this very much looks like a home game for Boston University in this one. Lehigh has been kind of a betting darling all season long. They've had an insane run. They've gone 13-4 against the spread on the road in this one. This team is actually 0-2 in this matchup. They just lost in overtime on a last-second game-winning layup to Boston University 10 days ago. And quite a while ago, they lost by a single point at Boston University. Lehigh knows how to play these guys. They know how to play them very close. The Mountain Hawks have been a good team this year. They haven't really busted out of the middle of the Patriot, but they're clearly a step better than some of the teams towards the bottom, so they have that to lean on. Tyler Whitney-Sydney is a monster. He's putting up 15 points per game on like 50% shooting, so that's a pretty good number. This squad can rebound the ball a little bit. Their defense has struggled, but they can score, so that's very, very helpful. Their last time out, they won at Lafayette. Before that, they played an extremely competitive game against Colgate, which they ended up losing by only 3 points. Lehigh is a solid team. They're not giving up here. They're going to want to survive and advance in this conference tournament, and they're going up against a team that is actually playing pretty well also. The Terriers have won 6 in a row coming into this game, but with some of those wins coming over teams like Navy, Holy Cross, that very close win against Lehigh, they're not exactly someone to write home about. This squad is very bad at putting the ball in the basket. They're averaging only 66 points per game, and that's about as many as they allow. Also, their defense is pretty stingy, but they play at a low pace, so you can see how that would happen. They're not very good on the boards in general. They don't really have go-to scorers. Miles Brewster is their kind of go-to guard. He's averaging 10 points and 3 assists per game, but that's not something we're exactly going to write home about. Boston is only 7-7 against the spread at home. Lehigh is 13-4 against the spread on the road. We see Lehigh -1.5 in this one. I wish they were getting some points, but we are still taking Lehigh. We like them a lot in this one. It's a true looking road game to me. If you guys have different information, please let me know down in the comments. But if I'm right on this one, give me a thumbs up. Let's go with Lehigh -1.5 on the road. Let's get after it. Next up, we're looking at SMU heading to UAB. So we're in the American Conference for for this one. SMU comes into this game fresh off an overtime win over ECU. Not really the kind of team you're going to be wanting to play an overtime against. You would think that would be kind of an easier game for the Mustangs, but they have not been a terrible team this season. They needed that win to snap a 3-game losing streak, but with one of those losses coming at FAU, the other one coming at USF, you can kind of excuse them for having a little bit of a tough run right here. This team plays some pretty good offense. They can really crash the boards though. That's kind of where they're the most impressive to me. Their rebounding is among the best teams in the nation. Their defense is solid as well. The Mustangs can kind of get up and down. They're not that team from years and years ago that just played an all-out sprint 24/7, but they're definitely a team that knows how to get after it. They play with some pace, and they're pretty good on the road. They're 7-4 against the spread when they're playing away from home. UAB has been a very tough team to figure out all season long. You never know what they're going to get from them on a nightly basis. We were on the wrong side of that insane blown lead they had at Memphis a few days ago. That one really stung. We were all but putting that game on the board before they just absolutely totally collapsed. They did bounce back from that well though. They went on the road at Temple and got a huge blowout win, so we can feel like they're playing well in this one, but this is a squad that always tends to play down to the level of their competition or up to their level of competition, except for apparently in the second half of games. UAB is 7-7-1 against the spread at home, so pretty even team. They're good on the boards, but a lot of that comes from their pace of play. Their offense is solid, but their defense is not very good. They really struggle to slow down opponents in general. They lost at SMU the last time these two teams faced each other. It was only a 3-point game, but that was still a loss. And coming off of a win in this one, we kind of feel like UAB is in a letdown spot. Give me SMU and their 7-4 against the spread record on the road. They're getting 1 point in this game. That's all. Maybe we could see this swing a little bit. You could wait around and see if you get an extra point or two, but I don't really think that's going to happen. Give me SMU +1 today. Next up, we're looking at the Southland tournament. We've got New Orleans going on the road to take on Southeast Louisiana. This game looks to be played in the Legacy Center in Lake Charles, Louisiana, so I'm treating this as a home game for Southeast Louisiana. Once again, give me a thumbs up if I got this right, but if I'm completely wrong, please let me know down in the comments if this is being played at some other site and the internet's lying to me. But right now we're looking at New Orleans coming into this game. They have lost 2 straight. Heading into the conference tournament, things have not looked great. They're 7-10 against the spread on the road. This team has been a bottom feeder in the Southland. They haven't been quite as bad as our Incarnate Word, but it's been pretty close. This team does not have a lot of good wins on the record. They just have not been having a very good time. They lost at Sela a couple of weeks ago by 10 points. And earlier in the season, they played them relatively close at home, but that was so long ago we don't really care about that. Jordan Johnson is a very solid scorer, but you're gonna get some points on the board when you're allowed to put up that many shots, even though you're shooting only 38% from the field. Southeast Louisiana comes into this game. They're fresh off of a blowout loss against Nichols, so they're kind of in a bounce back spot. They're going to be taking on a very weak opponent in this one. Sela struggles to score the ball a little bit. Their rebounding is decent though. Nick Caldwell is a big chunk of their offense. He's very efficient from the field, shooting over 50%. And Roscoe Eastmond is a monster point guard. He doesn't put up that much offense, but the guy is bumping up against 7 assists per game. That's pretty solid, especially for a team that doesn't really put a ton of focus on their offense. They don't play with a ton of pace, but they play very efficiently. Defensively, this team has been up and down, but I think they're going to have a very good defensive game against New Orleans in this one. We're looking at Sela -6.5, and I think they find a way to get the job done. I think they dominate New Orleans. It's a pretty bad opponent. I think New Orleans is just going to be ready for this season to be over. Give me Sela -6.5 here in the Southland tournament. Next up, we're swinging over to the Big Ten. We're looking at Michigan State going on the road to take on the Indiana Hoosiers. Michigan State comes in this game fresh off of a solid win over Northwestern. And when you're taking down a top 3 team in the Big Ten, that's a very solid win. Michigan State has been a little bit uneven this season. They have lost 2 of their last 3, but losing against Ohio State and at Purdue, those are not really bad losses. This team is solid defensively, very good on defense. They have a very good leading scorer in Tyson Walker. This team is just pretty good up and down the roster. They obviously have veteran coaching behind them. They are 4-4-1 against the spread on the road, so they've been pretty disciplined, really staying buckled down, locked in when playing on the road. In this one, they're going against the Indiana Hoosiers, who are actually on a 3-game winning streak. Indiana's been kind of hitting their stride. They won at Minnesota, which is a very solid win, at Maryland, which is a good win, at home over Wisconsin isn't all that special, but it's still a pretty good win. Kel'el Ware is a monster. He's shooting almost 60% from the field, scoring 15 points per game. This team can struggle on the boards a little bit, and their defense is just straight up not good. Some of those bad numbers come from earlier in the season, but we're not exactly going to talk toss those out. Sources are telling the team that their coach is going to come back. He's going to return as the Hoosiers head coach and not run off to the NBA or some other bigger program. Right now, we don't really love where Indiana is at. They're 8-8 against the spread at home. I think even though they're getting 3.5 points, we like Michigan State on the road in this one. Michigan State does not struggle on the road and only needing to win by 4. I think they find a way to get that done, even playing on the road, give themselves a little bit more of a boost to their tournament resume and help their seeding in the Big Ten tournament. Next up, we've got number 12, Illinois, going on the road to take on Iowa. The Fighting Illini come into this game fresh off of a tough and disappointing loss at home against number 3 Purdue. I really thought Illinois was going to find a way to come out ahead in that game. That's not what we saw happen, though. The Illini are 6-3-1 against the spread on the road. They've been a very solid road team. They've got tons of talent on this roster. Terrence Shannon Jr. is a monster. Marcus Domask is an absolute monster. They're putting up over 80 points per game on average. They played Iowa very recently, just less than 2 weeks ago, and they got a 95-85 win at home. I think we're going to see a very good effort from Illinois. They're in a bounce back spot in this one. Iowa comes into this game fresh off back-to-back wins, taking down Penn State, and then going on the road to get a 7-point win over Northwestern. That's a pretty solid win, but its value is fading a little bit as Northwestern has been having a little bit of a hard time coming down the stretch. This Iowa Hawkeyes team plays very well on the offensive end, but their rebounding is a concern and their defense is a big concern. Are they going to have answers for all the talent facing them from the Illinois side? Peyton Sandfort is kind of a good scorer, but when you look at his matchups in this game, I don't really love them. Tony Perkins could be an issue. He's a solid scoring point guard, but it really feels like it comes down to the defense in this one. Illinois is very good against the spread on the road, 6-3-1 overall against the spread. Playing away from home is very good. Iowa has not had that great of a home court advantage. They're only 6-9-1 against the spread at home. That's going to lead me to take Illinois plus 1 point in this game. I think we're getting the better team and we're getting a little bit of points. Playing on the road can be scary, but with Illinois in a bounce back spot, I like them a lot in this one. They're going to be one of my bigger bets of the day. Last but not least, we're staying in the Big Ten. We're looking at Maryland going on the road to take on Penn State. Maryland comes into this game fresh off back-to-back losses. They've actually managed to drop 4 of their last 5 overall in a kind of concerning fade here at the end of the season. Maryland is 6-5 against the spread on the road. That's a solid number. This team plays great defense. That has not changed. They've played some very close games against very elite competition lately. They played Illinois very close. They played Wisconsin close. They went on the road and got a blowout win at Rutgers. Losing to Northwestern and Indiana lately is not a great look, but they will have the best player on the floor in this game by a wide margin. Jameer Young is an absolute monster with over 20 points per game. He's also putting up assists. He plays some pretty solid defense. This team is just very good up and down the roster. They rebound the ball really well, especially considering their kind of low pace of play. And in this one, they're going to take on Penn State, a team they beat by 6 very early in the season. Penn State comes in this game fresh off back-to-back losses, losing at Minnesota and at Iowa. Now they get to come home for this one where they've been much better. They did pull off a crazy upset win over Illinois. That is kind of an outlier, though. They got blown out in the game before that, losing at Nebraska, so we're not going to put too much credence in that one. The big hole in Penn State's whole scheme here is their rebounding. They're a very weak rebounding team, and that's going to be a problem against Maryland. They also are not too good on the defensive end. Kane Clary is a monster. He's a very solid scorer, so they have that behind them. Ace Baldwin Jr. is a monster as well, so they definitely have some pieces here. Penn State is 8-7 against the spread at home, but I don't think that's quite good enough for us. We're going to go with Maryland. They need this win worse. We're taking the Maryland Terrapins +2 on the road in this one as our last pick of the day. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know in the comments what you think of each and every one of these picks. Let me know what your bets are going to be today. I will read and respond to every single comment you put in there. If you put bets in there, you want my advice on them, I will give you all the information that I possibly can. Thanks for watching. Once you've told me what you think of these predictions, you can click on that link down in the description and go over to stumpthespread.com where you can see all of our best bets. You can get signed up for our email newsletter over there. There's some great information over there. You can see our top plays if you sign up to be a premium member. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for more NCAA basketball action.